Welcome to your next math lesson. Again, we're going to continue working with our shapes and 3D shapes and 2D shapes, or three-dimensional shapes and two-dimensional shapes, three-dimensional shapes, or anything that you can hold in your hand. Like this bear is 3D. It's got a height, it's got a width, it's got a height, width, and length. And then we're going to talk about 2D shapes, and 2D shapes are flat things. So that's anything that you can kind of smush in your hand and it's real flat. Like this is a rectangle, but I can smush it. It doesn't come, there's no space right there. So this is a 2D shape, or this picture of a rectangle is 2D. It's height and length, but it doesn't, you can just see right through it. It's real thin. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that. You are gonna need a page out of you're gonna need 2 pages out of your book today. You're going to need this page right here. It's 133. It's got a little green ice cream cone. You're gonna have all these different shapes. We're gonna classify these today, so go ahead and cut these out for when we have to classify them. You also need the next page, and it looks like this. It's got 135 down here and a little brown ice cream cone down here, and it says 2D shapes and pictures of 3D objects. So essentially we're going to try to figure out the difference between those two things when we're talking about them. So go ahead and cut out these pictures. You're gonna need paste eventually, or glue eventually, to glue them onto this page. So go ahead and get that ready too. I gotta get some stuff prepared, so I'm gonna pause you right here and switch around some cameras and get some stuff ready for the part where I talk to you about it. All right, bye. Hey, how's it going? All right, so I went ahead and got my stuff set up. Whoa. Almost stood on that. That wouldn't have been any fun. Okay, so today we're talking about 3D shapes, or three-dimensional shapes, versus 2D shapes, or what we call flat shapes, okay? So flat shapes are gonna be anything that you can draw, or anything that's on a poster, or anything that is flat. And of course our 3D shapes, we know for a fact, three-dimensional shapes are the ones that we've been talking about. They are the ones that you can hold in your hand. There's a little bit of space if you put them in your hands. Like you can see that thing has some space to it. It takes up some space. Here's our cone. Right now I can put it between my hands, but I can't smush it. As hard as I push, it won't smush, okay? This is three-dimensional. It's got a height, goes this way. It's got a width that goes this way, and a length that goes this way as well. That's the 3 different dimensions: height, width, and length, okay? The other shapes that we talked about a little bit, we've got our cylinder. This has some weight to it. It's got some space. Like I can't smush this in my hand. You can still see my eyeball right there. It's got a height, it's got a width, and it's got a length. So this particular thing is not flat. It's three-dimensional. It stands in my hand. It won't fall over or whatever, okay? We have our cube, again. It's got a height, it's got a width, it's got a length. It's got 3 different dimensions to it. That means that it is a 3D shape. Goes in my hand. I can't smush it. Most of these have a 2D version, or a 2-dimensional version. The 2 dimensions for a flat shape or a 2-dimensional shape are usually width and length. That just means how wide it is or how long it is. So I have pictures of essentially the flat shapes of these things. We do have our sphere as well. This is our round shape. It goes all the way around. It's got some width to it. It's got some length to it. There's a height in there. This one actually has a radius, diameter. It's got a bunch of different things that you guys will get into as math goes on. But essentially it sits in my hand, okay? And I can't smush it. It's not flat. Flat shapes look a lot like these. So here's one that we call the square. You guys might be familiar with squares. You might have seen those before in preschool, or you see them all over the place. They might be on some pictures that you have on your wall. A square has 4 sides to it. All those sides are the same. They're measured out the same, and it's flat. So it's got a length, it's got a width, so it goes up, it goes over. Those are the 2 dimensions. But with this particular thing, unlike this, I can't make this stand in my hand. So if I try to put this up in my hand and just make it sit there, it falls over. That is because this particular shape doesn't have this side. This is a flat shape. I mean, look at it. You can't even see it if I turn it like this. Disappears almost entirely. I can smush it between my hands. It's a flat shape. I could draw this on a wall or my board. I could draw this shape, but I couldn't pick it up and take it off because it's missing for this particular shape, it would be the height. It's missing a height. I can set it down on my table and it essentially disappears. There's no height right here. So the square is the 2D shape. I have other shapes. I have a rectangle, another one that's flat. Like it goes this way, it goes this way. It's got a length, it's got a width. So it has 2 dimensions. But again, if I put this down on my hand, it falls over. There's no way I can hold up and keep it up like this. It's just gonna go flopping all over the place because it's missing that dimension. It's lacking depth. You might hear that eventually in your life. It's lacking depth. So this particular thing, I put it down on this table. Again, it disappears when I turn it flat like this. You can barely see it because it's so flat. Put it down on my table. It doesn't go up this way. This would be its height. It doesn't have one. So this is a 2D shape, okay? I also pulled this one. It looks a little bit like our sphere. So this is kind of the flat version of a sphere. The sphere goes around. I can put it in my hand. It's not going to fall over because it's got a length, a height, and a width. It's got all those different dimensions to it. Now the circle has dimensions too. They're a little bit different with the circle because length and width are really hard to measure with the circle. So we do this with diameter and circumference. But it's essentially the same kind of idea. It's got 2 measurements to it to tell us that it is flat. It doesn't have a 3rd measurement to tell us that it is 3D. So for this particular thing, it could go across this way. This is the diameter. It can go across this way, and it can go around this way, and it's got circumference, and that's the measurement for this thing. But I can't put it in my hand and hold it there like I could with the ball, because the ball has some weight to it. It's got some side, or it's thick. I can't squish it. But this thing, I put it up there and there it goes again. I dropped it. Put it on there. Oh, nope, that's not gonna work. Because this shape is flat, okay? It's flat, look at that. It doesn't even cover up my face. This way it covers up my face, but this way it doesn't cover up my face at all. It's because it is a flat shape. It's still a circle as opposed to a sphere. The circle is also part of our cylinder shape. We use it as the flat part of the cylinder, but then we have this other shape around here. So the difference between these things is one of them is very flat, and you could draw it on a board. So over here, where we have our whiteboard, so this is from last lesson, I left it up there. All of these are pictures of those shapes that I just showed you. But I could also, after clearing this off, I could draw any kind of 2D shape that I might need. So you're gonna run into some things that look kind of weird in your book. They might look like something like that. They might look like this, minus this little guy. They might look like this, or a heart. Now these are just drawings of flat shapes, okay? They've got one side, or I could measure it this way and see how big it is. I could measure it this way and see how it is. But what I can't do is pick this up and take it off of the board. I couldn't carry it in my hand. This right here is a rectangle. I could measure it this way, I could measure it this way, but if I picked it up off the board, it would be that flat shape. It would look like it would just disappear if you turned it sideways. The heart's the same way. It's got a sides to it, it's a shape, but I can't pick it up. So that's the big difference between those two things. A 3D shape is something you can hold in your hand, or a picture of a 3D shape is a picture of something that you could hold in your hand, and a 2D shape is something that would be flat if you tried, or it would just disappear if you tried. So what you've got is a bunch of different pictures of either flat shapes or 3D objects. You got pictures of 3D objects, so it's just a drawing of it. It's still flat. It would turn, if you turn these drawing or pictures sideways, they would still turn flat, but it's a picture of something that has sides to it. So the difference is, we've got this drawing right here, and it goes up and it goes this way, but it doesn't go back towards the other way. So this particular thing is a 2D shape. I could draw this on my board, and I could pick up this, or I could try to pick it up, but it wouldn't be picked up. It's just a shape, okay? But this thing right here is a letter block or a letter cube. Now we know about cubes, we know that they have space, they take up space. And this particular thing has one side going this way, it has one side going this way, and if you look real close, you can tell that it goes backwards as well. So this one looks like a cube. So you're going to take these two things, your shape right here is going to go on this page, back here where it says 2D shapes. That means two-dimensional shapes, drawings of shapes. They go right in here, okay? This one down here is pictures of 3D objects. So these are pictures of things that have 3 dimensions or weight. This cube, we know, has weight. If I held it in my hand, it wouldn't go anywhere, and you'd be able to see it from every way that I held it. So the cube is going to go back on this page under 3D objects. So paste that down here. So essentially all the 3D objects that we've been talking about in all the different lessons, the ones like the cylinder or the can, the sphere like the ball, those things that I've held in my hand, those are all go down here on pictures of 3D objects. And anything that's kind of a drawing that you could make on the wall is going to go in 2D shapes. So go ahead and cut these out if you haven't already. Get ready to paste them down once you've classified them or put them in the 2 boxes. Take a picture of that. Let us know what you think and how the shapes are going. Send it to your teachers so we know what you're thinking about it. Maybe even do a little talking about what you think about them if you need to, so you can explain what you did. And that'll be it for this lesson. So keep up the good work. Hope you had fun. I like shapes. I hope you have a lot of fun with shapes, figuring out which one's which. And we'll see you next time.